Welcome back. My guest tonight is ANC Secretary General Magashule, who I sat down with earlier in the day. Now, in this part of our conversation, I asked him whether the ANC's new Integrity Committee, which was announced last week, will in fact have teeth. He also, of course, reveals how he nearly got the Free State government as premier at the time to invest in VBS and what actually stopped him from doing so.
The committee will be meeting sometime next week to have their first meeting. So they will be coming together and explaining how they are actually going to work. And I think we'll give them not the final terms of reference. And once the National Executive Committee meets, we will adopt the final draft of the terms of reference.
The key question, I guess, is will the committee have teeth? Because conference left that matter.
The committee will have teeth. Yes, it will have teeth.
Derived from the terms of reference, or are you going to do something else?
Derived from the terms of reference, and like any other committee, even if it accounts to the National Executive Committee, it will still have teeth. That's how we have actually framed the terms of reference.
You've been in this position for just over, 6 months now? How has it been?
Well, it's quite interesting, quite challenging, where we have taken a resolution to unite and renew the organization. And challenges of court cases. In politics, you'll say this is a period where you have storms. It's the stormy session, but we are almost there because the National Dispute Resolution Committee has gone to each and every part of the country to resolve queries, to resolve problems, to resolve challenges. Our comrades, whether it's in KZN and all over the country, they are starting to understand that it's not about our own individual interests, it's about the interest of the ANC and South African society in general. So I think I'm settled now because I feel that we are starting to work as a collective. We are starting to work together to resolve issues. There's no more an issue of CR and NDZ. I think it's fading away, and the organization is starting to gel. We still have certain challenges in some parts of the country. And the leadership of the NEC is full-time dealing with all those challenges.
What are those stormy periods that you refer to?
Well, we had leaders who could not actually speak to one another. We had people who went to courts in KZN, in the Eastern Cape, in Northwest, in the Free State, in Gauteng here. You have seen them in Limpopo. But we have patience. And remember, we said people must exhaust. And a lot of people have started doing that. These ones who are still going to courts without exhausting internal processes, we are talking to them. And I'm very comfortable that I'm very happy to can speak with confidence that meeting people, listening to them. Some of them have real, genuine issues. There was indeed gatekeeping. Some had their own battles and fights, which are completely not related in terms of the organization. Some had genuine issues, and they were either sidelined, marginalized. And the organization is gelling now, and I'm confident where I am, I can see that the ANC is starting to move.
Does your comfort and confidence necessarily mean that the issues in the provinces that you mentioned have now been resolved or are almost resolved?
Almost, because we are still engaging other people. There are 10 asides, there are 5 asides. We are encouraging comrades to talk. Those who are not seeing eye to eye, they are starting to talk. We give ourselves time and space. Where we think we need a veteran to go and talk to these people, that's what we are doing. So It is not completely, I can't say completely we have done away with challenges, problems, addressed them. We are still addressing as we move. We are addressing some of these challenges, challenges of service delivery, challenges of development in areas where there is completely no development, in rural areas. So we are happy, and government is starting to also account. We are working together with the ANC government, and I think we are starting to gel as the ANC head office and provincial headquarters with our MECs and ministers.
Speaking of accounting and gelling and the challenges facing governance, I mean, we're right in the middle of the VBS saga, for example, where, as the Reserve Bank has told us yesterday, you had people running municipalities taking public money and investing it in VBS when they knew that it was actually illegal to do so. You had traditional leaders who, took money from VBS, spent it on their lavish lifestyles. Now, you as the ANC, when you talk about accountability, you obviously have to give it a face, and when you talk about non-accountability, you have to give that a face too. What do you think of what is happening at VBS?
Well, it's bad, but at times if you don't know, for instance, I was saying in one meeting, when I was premier, VBS approached provincial government. They presented to us, and they told us that municipalities in Limpopo, municipalities in Gauteng are investing with them. And what was the reaction? This is a black bank. Is it doing well? So many people are starting to invest with them. And we almost took the same decision to say we are going to invest with you. It was a matter of time because we did not check with anybody. We didn't know that National Treasury said to these municipalities they shouldn't do this and that. So we could have also unconsciously, unknowingly, we could have also have participated. We were just lucky not to further have meetings and question this and one clarification here, and delay to take any decision. Because remember the debate was, we have these banks. Why can't we support black banks? In the case at the end, there was that bank, Itala, people started saying, but why can't we do this? So I'm just saying, this is bad. We will wait for the reports. But if people knowingly participated in this, it is something else. It is bad.
But ignorance can't be a defense either, because you ought to have known, or if you didn't know, your systems should have been configured such that you are able to identify such potential problems.
Vuyo, I'm saying we collectively, we are almost about to take that decision based on the presentation, based on the fact that a particular government sphere is investing in this.
And the rhetoric of radical economic transformation.
Imagine if we didn't delay, it was going to look like a scheme. And it was a genuine thing. So some of the people might have, I'm not talking about people who have benefited, who have robbed people out of their money. I'm talking about those who actually went to the bank and they didn't know what is actually happening. They thought everything is okay. So whatever has happened, let action, those who have done wrong, I think the investigations and everything will come out.
Well, having been a premier, knowing what you know now about VBS, for example, right, and how you or anybody else, as you say, could have gotten into, what does that tell you about, what we need to do or what we need to put in place as we move forward to avoid other VBS situations?
I think we need to be very, very careful. We now know what is happening throughout the country. With this experience, we need to be not rush to take decisions. We need to investigate. We need to vet. We need to be satisfied that we need to ask. If somebody says, I'm doing this in Gauteng, where we have to check with National Treasury, Gauteng itself, or anybody, that's what we need to do. We need to be more careful now. And we need to know that we need to serve our communities and society in general.
But what about our approach to things, how we speak about things like radical economic transformation? Here's a black bank, you've got to help it, kind of thing.
Radical economic transformation is not just about blackness. There are many factors. And we are still saying, as the ANC, we support radical economic transformation. As to what you mean by that is what we are going to put in practice. It's not just color, but it does actually matter. Those who were marginalized in the past, the women, rural areas, people have been marginalized. The youth, yeah, blacks and Africans in particular.
Remember, before we knew what we know now about VBS, there were people who were saying, a lot of them proponents of so-called radical economic transformation, who said this bank was being allowed to fail because it is a black bank. And they were asking people who were in power, in the province, certain national departments, to actually invest with that bank purely. You know, the argument was it is a black bank that should be allowed to grow and develop. But now we know what we know.
It is right to say we must assist any black. There is nothing wrong about it. But when we do so, we must do the right things. It is the right thing to do. You can't say because of this, black is bad now. It is still the right way to ensure that those who have been marginalized in the past, blacks in general and Africans in particular, benefit in the mainstream of our economy.
But rules are rules.
But do the right things, follow whatever rules is supposed to be there.
And if you don't like the rules, change them, but don't defy them.
Don't defy, I agree with you. Change the rules and make those rules to be transparent, acceptable to society, and move on.
Lastly, SG, before I let you go, at a personal level, have you at any point felt undermined in your position over the past 6-7 months?
Well, I haven't felt that way because obviously I will never allow it. That is my nature, that is my character. I'm part of a collective. I don't think I always say, hey, this is my power there. I work with the collective. I have never felt at any stage there were attempts to say the SG can't do this.
Well, I'm asking this because, I mean, if people who say they have your interests at heart are to be believed, they say you're being undermined, they know that there's a plan to get rid of you after the 2019 elections. They say evidence of you being undermined. They point to Parliament where they say you forwarded names of people who should chair committees, and that list was ignored.
No, there was no list which was ignored. When we work as a collective. There were names we discussed as officials, and we felt that these names must be in Parliament. And we discussed those names, we agreed, and we engaged our deployees, and we interacted. And we found out that already in a particular committee, there was already a person. By the time we decided, there was nobody chairing a particular committee. And that's why we later on came together again And I said, Comrade Joe Maswanga will be the chairperson of a portfolio committee. He is. And so you don't just say, I'm Secretary General, I want the following names. You have your deployees there. You have the chief whip of the ANC there, who's your eyes and ears. You have to interact with him and say, Chief Whip, there are these vacancies. This is how we are going to deal with them. What is your input? And that's how we work. Initially, there wasn't such an interaction between the chief whip and the SGO's office. And we have dealt with those issues. So there was no undermining by anybody.
So when you, by the time you took a list to your deployees in Parliament, they already had some ideas in terms of how to fill those vacancies. So you then had to negotiate.
They had already appointed somebody in a particular position, and it was not going to be organizational or human to just say, remove Vuyo there. This is the person we want. We had to say, we had these vacancies, what happened? And if there were people who were already there, and we are now putting a new person, this person has been part of the committee and all that, you can realize also that, oh, sorry, it means there was this, you have filled it, we did not actually interact. In future, this is how we are going to work. Let's interact and have effective communication.
So to avoid such misunderstandings and possibilities of conflict with your deployees in Parliament, have you worked out an arrangement now so that you don't go through those kinds of things again?
Yeah, the deployees know that the ANC head office has that role. It is the role of the head office, it's the role of the SGO. In exercising that role, you do actually consult with deployees, be it in the provinces, be it national. It's the right thing to do. You can't just go and impose. You consult, you engage, and you finally take decisions after consultation.